What's up, everyone? Welcome to another segment of CEO at the Gas Pump. We have a special guest with us here today. We have a veteran when it comes to the business industry. He's he's been in different industries from government contracting to real estate. He is the CEO and managing partner of Austin Business Strategy. Coach Austin, nice to have you.
Great to be here, man. Pleasure to be here. Honor to be here for sure. Thanks for having me on your platform.
Of course, man. I've been following you for quite a while now. I My first introduction to you was through the Earn Your Leisure Network, where you were a professor over there, and that's how I kind of first got into the Toro business. I learned that through you. I went to the dealership here in Houston and got three cars in one day, where I yeah, I took a play out of what CEO Matty J playbook. He he went to multiple dealerships in one day, so that's what I did, and ultimately, started doing that as one of my businesses where I was renting out vehicles. But yeah, could you give the audience a rundown on who you are and give us a background of your upbringing?
Gosh, you want to go kid upbringing or career upbringing?
It could be a mix of both. Yeah, let's
All
do a
right,
mix of both. Yes, sir.
cool. So, John Austin, originally Opelousas, Louisiana. So, shout out to all the Louisiana boys that was in the Super Bowl and and all that. So born and raised there, went to LSU, transferred to USL. They call it UL now. A lot of my frat brothers were moving to Houston at the time, either Houston or Dallas. Louisiana wasn't the spot you really wanted to technically raise your family. Great place to be. Home is always home. It'll never not be home, honestly. But to really be in an innovative space, a space where you can raise a family, grow a career. I had my eyes set on Houston. Really, at the time, I was a paramedic, finishing up my business degrees. So I was kind of a career student at the time. I had taken a buttload of classes, changed my major 80 times. And it was all on, I was told to go to school for one thing, but my heart was set on something else. And business kept coming back around. So I used the paramedic license as a way to get into the med center. But my mind was always, let me get to the business side of this thing and really see how this hospital system works. So fast forward there, came to Houston as a paramedic, worked in the ER as a medic, ultimately ended up in cancer research, which is where a lot of my business foundations came from. Got laid off there. Before I got laid off, I was flipping houses part time. So I was in real estate since I was a kid. So a lot of the real estate things that I see online, some of it's interesting, some of it's like, nah, but I can't say much because that's not my space. But healthcare, real estate has always been my home. So that's what a lot of my clients. I rock with a lot of doctors, nurses, etc., and a lot of folks in the real estate space. So getting laid off at Baylor was really a blessing in disguise, like a huge blessing. Because I told myself I'm never gonna let myself or my family feel what it feels like to be laid off. I've seen it, I touched it here, there, smaller little retail jobs, but nothing that massive to where you coming in one day, you just doing your thing. I had a 7 to 4 shift. I can get off, I can go to my properties, I can do what I wanted. Life was pretty decent. And so fast forward, got into the real estate game, and I had seen a lot of infrastructure. Like now, Houston's growing. Houston been growing. So
Yeah.
um, I was in a meeting one day, and this older gentleman pulled me to the side. And he's like, if you're gonna last in this industry, you need to get certified. You need to get same stuff I talk about. And I'm like, I got my degrees. He said, no, that don't mean crap here. It's great you did that. That don't mean nothing. I need you to go to the state of Texas, federally, city of Houston, and get this paperwork because that would allow you as a small business to grow in this space. And that's how I started in the government contracting arena. No social, no IG, no Facebook, no none of that. It was face to face, city council, procurement meetings, all that kind of thing. So that's how the Austin business conundrum grew. we did a project. It ended up being like a $1.2 billion deal, huge project. Got too big, and I've said it on a couple podcasts, but the project got too big. Like it was really. It started off as they called us in, said, "Hey, we need a minority developer to come to Dallas. Would you be interested? I heard you speaking at this event, blah blah blah." And at the time, I was like, "Yeah," because this was a pre 0809 deal, and we were talking about a bubble then, but nobody really saw it coming per
Yeah,
se. But we knew, okay, we need to be ready because something might pop off here, but we didn't really feel it uh, uh, at its urgency. So got the call, went to Dallas. About a week or two later, had the LOI of what work they wanted us to do. I was going to be a sub under a prime and offered right. So that's how I began this whole government contracting piece.
okay. I want to probe on a couple of things. So you're saying that a lot of your, your your business acumen came from actually what you did as a occupation, as a job, and that kind of gave you insights on how how to research businesses and how to research market areas and how to look at opportunities.
I'll say honestly, and this is why I don't knock college at all, because college will give you, I'll say secondary education. There's a lot of that we don't see as a culture in schools. There's some schools are what's called target schools. So you've got your Wharton School of Business, your Kellogg's, your Washington States, your Dukes, whomever. Certain industries like Wall Street will target a certain school for a certain type of person. It gives you the base, understanding, acumen, certain vernacular, certain internships you'll have to get your wheels going, right? Then once you get out there, you start practicing what you learned. So for me, it was the same thing. I mean, I knew real estate because my grandfather did it. So I could set farms, build a house, the whole bit on my own, not really realizing I didn't know what that was or wasn't. So I would say what I learned in college at LSU in particular, going to USL, University of Phoenix, those business courses, etc., those MBA courses, gave me a base for what business was. And once I got out there, I started having conversations with other people who were in business. And you can tell the difference between those who were in college and those who didn't. But business overall, I was able to practice it at a higher level because I was dumped into it. And especially the med center research, I'm dumped into research at a high level. But if I didn't have that college background, it would have been tough. So that mixture of the two, for me, you have to have to function at a high level.
Okay. Yes, sir. Another thing you said you were speaking about your $1.2 billion contract that you guys won and the difficulties you had. What made it difficult? Was it putting it into operation, or was it more of like the logistics, or was it just like you felt like you took on more than you could handle?
Gosh, might be a little bit of everything. When we got into it, I was brought in to be a minority developer. So when we looked at the land, what they wanted to do, the cities and all, walking those sites, I remember what my grandfather would do: going into the bank, get with the city, Louisiana's a parish, but the counties, and looking at what the plans were, and then how do we build this thing out? Get with the architects and all that. So I knew what that was. It was easy flow. Get with the primes. Okay, what part of the job's gonna be mine? What part is yours? How are we gonna bid this thing out, bond it out? What part do I take, et cetera, et cetera. So it started off with like a $50 million situation. That wasn't bad because really, once you get into a certain level, it's just numbers and scope. So scope of work. What am I going to do? What's on paper? I still have the plans. I need to show them to you next time we meet. I got the plans of the first truck stop we were doing. So I knew how big it had to be. We had pretty much creative reign on what we wanted it to be because they gave us a budget. And then they were like, okay, can you do two of these? Can you do three of these? I'm like, okay, yeah. Can you do four? Yeah. Again, it's just numbers. It's a multiplier. As long as we have the bonding, the funding, the staffing, and the project managers to be me where I can't be me, I'm good. I'm good. When it got to the right before it hit the billion, and we were going from Texas to Sioux City, Iowa, to Manitoba, Canada, to Mexico. I'm like, okay. Now again, I'm young though. I'm like, well, I'm still young now, but this is early mid 30s.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, okay, this is nice. I'm liking how this is looking. I'm taking trips overseas. Going to uh, Quebec City, Canada, which is where this global summit was at, and so it was good at that time because I could see it growing. When it got too big was where the team wasn't what it should be. I didn't have a Kendra then. I didn't have a Daria, a Siobhan then. I didn't have even my city colleagues were still one or two off. They didn't know me like that, and I didn't know them like that. And I didn't cut my teeth enough in the space to really know what I could and couldn't take on. But it was really big on that team. So taking on such a big project, people start to back off a little. Their hands are out. They want the money.
Hmm.
Let's just get
Yeah.
that real. The people want that money. But when
Yeah.
it comes to the actual work that needs to be done, they're like, oh, this is a lot. And they start to let you handle it. And it got stressful. I had a nervous breakdown. Didn't know what that was. At home eating, and I had to put a towel in my mouth because my teeth started chattering so much. My body was just like, yo, you need to slow down. Even the doctor when I got to the ER, he's like, you're healthy as heck, but you need to slow down. Whatever you're doing, back off because you're gonna stroke out. I'm like, what? Okay. So yeah, that's what I knew was too much. That's when it just got too much for me to handle because my team wasn't built right. And I put that on me because I didn't build the right team.
Okay. I would like to, okay, you spoke on bonding a little bit, and I know that a lot of times that's like a lot small businesses have problems with bonding. Did you run into that trouble with getting bonding?
I ran into, which is where Bake Ready comes from. Shout out to the brand. Um, Being bankable and truly bank ready, I was told at one point when we went to go for the 50 million plus, the banker was like, "You're not ready for the bank at that level." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. I'm talking about. I know my numbers. I know what I know." But I was a little cocky at that moment, and she was like, "No, but when you're ready to have a conversation, let me know." So when I checked my ego at the door, we had that talk about what it took to truly be bankable at a scalable level that we were headed. Um, so we didn't have a problem because I was able to catch it early. I had the relationships at the time, and again, college came in heavy because we planned out way far in advance. So I knew what they wanted from me way ahead of time. I think small businesses now aren't bondable and bankable for a couple reasons. That's a whole other story. But I can see why they're not. We were good because if I couldn't do something, we partnered with or teamed with other contractors who brought things to the table, which made the project work. So when I made my presentation to the city, we had already checked in because I already knew who the bankers were who were funding the whole deal. So as long as they checked off as we went, we were fine. And we were always 2 or 3 steps ahead anyway because of the speed of the project. So yeah, we were fine, but I can see why people today are not.
Yeah. And you also was speaking about teaming and you not having the right team in place. Could you speak on the significance of having those right relationships and right teams in place that allow you to be successful on your contracts?
So, man, that's like a marriage because it really is a business marriage. Picking your right partner, especially your right hand, that person you gotta trust. Some team members you can kind of get away as being replaceable. I'll say somebody like a Kendra is hard to replace. You've got to trust that person. They got to trust you. Right now, before I got on this call with you today, there's certain things I had to shoot her way, and I have to trust she's going to handle it. She even tells me, give it to me and leave it alone. It took me a minute to get to that point with her because of my previous trust issues and running into a wall with that. But having a team, man, that you can trust, rely on, and is built to do the job. So you one as a founder, CEO, whatever role you're playing, you've got to know what those roles are before you jump into them. Something I don't think we talk enough about. I think social media kind of brushes it over, or they'll act like you're supposed to know. Yeah, you kind of are. And if you don't, you need to find a score mentor or someone else who's done these things to map it out with them. So when you get with them, yo, I'm about to do X. What does this look like? Because there's truly nothing new under the sun. Now, AI is, we'll get to that later, I hope. But to an extent, there's people who are doing this who know what they're doing. Um, so having a good team is paramount, from your attorney, your CPA, your accountant, your right hand, and then who you project to hire down the line. You should have an idea of what that's going to look like before you get there. Because if that's not part of your plan, you are doomed to fail fast.
You briefly mentioned something about the mentor and SBA. My question is two parts. You know, with the Houston Business Procurement Forum, last year around Christmas time, they had an award, and you won Mentor of the Year award.
Yeah,
Yeah, congratulations on that once again.
thank you, thank
Could
you.
you speak on the significance of having a mentor? You know, that already went through the battle, and how they could help you, curve that, learning, and overcome obstacles that you we could probably run into.
For sure. I mean, one, I didn't know that award was coming. I knew I was going to
Yeah.
get something. I thought it was more or less a kind of a partnership award, maybe, or some significance. Because I know once you start working with certain groups, they'll acknowledge your role. But Mentor of the Year, I didn't really see at all because they don't only give that any people that I've seen that really are kind of juggernauts in the space and work really, which you look at it, well, we kind of are in that space. It's hard to really take that achievement on, but um, so thank God for that for sure, because it leads to some great things. Um, you have to have a good mentor sponsor group. I'll say that. Can't be just one person. It'll start off with one, but you need to have a couple. Uh, Milton Tildo's a mentor of mine. There's bankers. There's folks all over with the different government agencies, private sector, even some of my colleagues I'll lean on for mentorship. And I think we kind of go back and forth where you can be open with that person and let them know what you're trying to do, and they'll give you guidance. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's I mean, you again, like the college as a base, like past experience, having a mentor, and when I say sponsor, is more or less someone that opens the door. They've got access to certain things. They see your work. They know what you're doing. You're trustworthy, and they're at a point where, you know what, let's do this. Or they speak your name in rooms where, oh, I've heard you. Oh, so and so. Or you get a phone call from somebody. Hey, so and so told me that such and such put you on LinkedIn. You get the little two-way message up. So it's one of those things to where I hope and wish small business owners would do more of and seek out a mentor. They may be seasonal. They may have been to you for a little while and then something else. They may sponsor you here or there, then keep going. Uh, I've got a few that have been around for a little minute, but in time they change. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you definitely. I would not overstate it. Go looking for someone that's in the space you're looking to be, and you don't have to always ask, but pay for consultation. Offer to pay for their time. Number one. Even if they say no, still offer something. Don't say, let me pick your brain. I wish we need to stop that, honestly. And I say it because it's insulting. And I don't think people realize it. I don't know if I got time to touch on it if I can, but um, if someone spent years in a space, me anyway, but I know a few people, we don't have time for 5 minute conversations. Come back when you got 30 minutes or an hour that you want to really delve in. To pick my brain is like I want the fruit, but just give me a little bit because you're gonna be back. So it seemed like you want to just use me and run off. And am I only worth a cup of coffee or a lunch? I can do that. I'm giving you $1 million worth of game. Shout out to them.
It's,
$1 billion worth of game, international game, and you want to just pick my brain and run off. You have to respect the person you're around because you never know what that relationship could be. And you don't know what that person went through to get that information. And lastly, the context of what you're asking takes time to delve into. So just don't just pick somebody's brain.
Okay, yes, sir. I would like to switch pivots now and
Right.
talk about this dismantling of the DEI. How, with the things, with 8A, having the Ultima lawsuit, and of course now, they're in the crosshairs, and with women on, and and how do you see that affecting, small businesses and agencies and employers? How do you see it affecting the industry?
It's affecting it now. I'm seeing on LinkedIn they're taking like this whole Department of Defense has a group and they took the women's portion out. I think it's going to affect it. How? I don't know. I know 8A was for socioeconomic disadvantage groups. It's a business development program that will allow you to scale over the course of 8, 9 years. Now it's open to everybody. There's a narrative where you have to write what makes you disadvantaged. I see that happening to a lot of the programs that are out. Now, let's distinguish though, DEI came after the law that brought the SBA into effect. So Eisenhower brought down the law post World War II, I think, 53, I think it was, that brought about the SBA. Well, it was called something else first. But there was a group brought in small business because they saw how jacked up the U.S. was after the Great Depression. And 53 brought in that law. It was under the Treasury, which is why I'm kind of tripping that Elon's got access to Treasury because that's what's controlling the SBA. But it's federal law, so you got to change the law. So I'm not too bent out of shape about that, but we'll see where it goes. DEI came later, but DEI is more internal with corporate and federal employees than it is contracted. And the latest, you know, documents, if you will, that Trump has signed is, and if people read it, if people read it, he's asking government contractors in the private sector to help him with this illegal DEI, which DEI is not illegal, but that's just him saying it. But let's just be honest.
Mhm,
So he's asking us and private sector, hey, can you help us? We have to uphold the civil rights laws and this and the third. We have to uphold the law, and we want to do that. But how can we do X? So to answer your question, I think the ripples in the water are going to be higher than the change themselves.
mhm,
People take these statements and things that are happening over here with affirmative action and over here with DEI, and they push it to other sectors and they make it have a ripple. You can't change the law until Congress does. You can't
mhm,
change these things until, and we have to understand what the three different factions of government are and what roles they play. So for me, I don't really have a feeling until I see law change, until
mhm,
I see policy change. But it is going to have an effect across the board. But you're not going to really change small business because it's the undergrowth of this country. So stay small until you can scale out. But you can be small and be a $40 million business, $45 million business, depending on your
mhm,
NAICS code. So it's hard to say how I feel because I don't. I'm just waiting
mhm,
for a law to change, policy to change, and as these different wrinkles come in, we just adapt. And as a small business,
mhm,
that's what we need to be looking at doing. Let's adapt to the nuances of the day and
mhm,
see where that ultimately ends policy 90 days from now, if they even ever change the law. Because if they don't,
mhm.
then okay, adapt and keep moving.
Yes,
But
yes,
dismantling
because
DEI, mean, I saw that coming. DEI was
yeah.
that the current post George Floyd DEI was a bad day.
Mhm,
But DEI has been around for a minute. DEI has
mhm,
been around since the 70s. Came and flipped again in the 80s. I want to say with the women's deal, 2000s, and later on with folks with disabilities and LGBTQ. So there was multiple layers of presidential actions that added more groups to it. And we
mhm,
know more groups took advantage or have taken advantage of DEI more than others. But for the most part, it's been around. So them dismantling it, I'm like, okay, what are they going to do next? What are they going to make it into? Because you can't just throw it
Mm-hmm.
away. I mean, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bigger picture at play. So let's do this. Okay, what y'all going to do next? And see what happens.
Right. And I was going to speak on because, like you said, the Small Business Act, they still have, the contracting officers still have goals that they have to reach for each social economic status. So if you take away that and you don't, do something to that law, then you kind of putting the contracting officers in a bind where if it, illegal to, award a contract based off of, racial preference or being a woman on, it would create a conflict of interest because well, not a conflict of interest, but it would create a conflict because they would still need to by law still check off those goals. So do you think uh a pivot, I guess I would say, because I'm a service disabled veteran, and I'm certified service disabled veteran on small business, and I understand that because they do still have goals that they have to reach. Do you think a pivot could be, and since that is not based off of a race or anything, that that could be a potential pivot, being able to collaborate, minority businesses collaborate with service disabled veterans to insulate their status and insulate their competitiveness in this space. Do you think?
Um, Let me say this. So thank you for your service, first of all. Uh-huh. I think we need to be working more with our veterans anyway. So when I mentioned teaming earlier, there's teaming and there's joint venturing. Joint venturing, you create a whole new entity. Teaming is you're teaming together for skill sets. So I think we need to be teaming with our service disabled veteran brothers and sisters because one, y'all are brilliant across the board. And I've been yelling this for a long time.
Yeah.
People in certain spaces are like, oh, don't get certified, don't get this, don't get that. I'm like, well, you see why you need it now? You for sure need it even more so now because
Mm-hmm.
law is law is law. And what I will say for procurement officers that I know, and this is why it's not good to just be paying attention only federal. Some people only do federal government contracting. Why? It's more than just federal. It's procurement across the board. So you should be doing it everywhere because jurisdictional lines are jurisdictional lines. You could be in Texas and Houston and deal with federal, state, local, all the same project, right? So for procurement officers, until that far changes, until the law changes, they're fine. I said I'm actually glad we're doing this podcast. They're fine. I mean, they're like if the FAR don't change, DFAR, VFAR, if none of that changes law, okay. Now their colleagues, comrades that work with them are getting affected by DEI, but that's employee. That's not the
Mm-hmm.
contract itself. So if there's a set aside 30%, 20%, 10% that has to go to a service disabled veteran or whatever, or if you're using a rule of two, or if it's a sole source for a service disabled veteran, they're going after it. And I would even say more so to service disabled veteran, go after these contracts holistically because you have the socioeconomic status to do so. So I would say, yeah, it would behoove all of us to hard pivot and team with veterans. One, again, y'all are brilliant. I was in Atlanta last year at Bunker Labs. Shout out to JP Morgan Chase. They sponsor that. And I was working with veterans in the bank ready space. And we're talking about AI, project management, construction, etc. And they were able to mentor me, man, in the course of 2 hours, just all the things they had learned, stuff I didn't even know, all veterans, everybody in the room, and they just poured in. So yes, to pivot and be service disabled veteran focused, I think would be great because one it'll help veterans out because y'all do need that guidance and assistance from the private sector, from the public sector.
Mm-hmm.
Um, y'all are used to taking orders, and there's a mission in everything. Everything's a mission, a mission. So let's make it our mission to get with you guys more often and have a CEO lead the mission. You guys come in, get your scope of work together, and start attacking certain projects. I would say so. But until they change laws, The goals are the goals, but we have to
Mm-hmm.
better understand the FAR, which is where legal representation comes in. Shout out to Kara Coffee. She's an attorney of ours, and she does government contracting law. She doesn't practice privately, but you can find you on LinkedIn a government contract lawyer or lawyers. They're out there, and bring them in for consult. Something that I don't hear anybody saying at all.
Yeah.
That would be a
Mhm.
nice move because you know how to use the law to your advantage.
Mm. Okay, you spoke about, how the DEI was going to affect more employees, and with, the federal agencies offering a whole bunch of buyouts, and with AI, do you see that as, and with Elon, he's so tech focused, AI focused, do you think what do you think of, maybe them positioning the AI agents or something where AI can, better run contracting and run, you know, how do you see that landscape shaping?
Yeah, that's a funny one because the procurement process does need to be more efficient. And I hate to see someone's job get lost because of it. That being said, you can make the contracting procurement cycle more efficient without really getting rid of any jobs. If we watch, I watch people's patterns. Elon did this
Mhm.
with Twitter. He did this with another couple companies too. He'll come in and gut the company, drop earnings, of course, but he does this. And he's doing it again. But I don't like what he's doing it now because you need more people, I think, in these spaces because you have enough contracts that are going to the bigger firms and not enough going to small firms. There's too many small businesses that don't know procurement exists. That's not a good thing. It's really not because if you don't know something exists, how do you go to jump into it? If you don't know something exists, how can you make it more efficient if you're not running enough small businesses through the process? So AI agents could make it more efficient, yes. We're seeing it happen now. There's software we're using now that we're testing kind of beta-ish to see what we'll bring in to help our own AI make getting a contract and going through procurement, the procurement process easier. But I don't like the buyouts because losing the human touch before you tried human touch in AI, counterintuitive. You have to program AI for it to work. You
Yeah.
just got here, Mr. Musk, respectfully. Procurement is not something you learn overnight, even if you were in the private sector. It's a whole other animal over here.
Hmm.
And you haven't put enough small business through it to feed your own procurement AI database to see what needs to be more efficient. I mean, he can sit with folks like myself, folks with GSA and all that, and we can show him how to make it more efficient. Oh yeah, oh yeah, we could jump GDP in a heartbeat. But I don't like the whole bailout thing. Again, there's another agenda though. But this is what he's always done. He did it with Twitter. He's doing it again here. Is what he knows how to do. That's a win for him. I personally don't like that approach, but we'll see what happens to it. We'll see. But the contracts are still out there. So for my
Hmm.
small business owners, uh, keep going after them because they're still out here. And I don't see AI taking anyone's job per se in this space unless you give it to them.
Yes, sir. And okay, so and that was a good. You made a good point, and where you started speaking about AI for your organization. So my next question was, how are you implementing AI into your business and your everyday use?
We've been using AI before it became popular. The first
Mhm.
tool we used, this is probably now about 5 years ago, 4 years ago. It was a business psychology tool, basically. When I go on too long, when you write an email, again, I'm, you know, country boy, so certain things I say have a twang to it or whatever. I'm not the most vernacularly astute. I could use some big words, but I just don't. I hate writing emails, despise it. I cringe. So ChatGPT and all that helps to write emails is pretty cool. But the tool we first used, I could put you in a certain business psychology map, and according to how you hear, based on your own psychology, I could send the same email out to you. It'll change the wording based on how you hear, which is really cool. and it taught me how to actively listen to my clients better. So I can send the same email out to 20 people, and based on how we have you pegged, the wording will change. And all of the clients are like, "Man, you really hear me pretty good. Like I really feel like you know me." And I'm like, "That ain't me," but that's the tool changing the wording up. But it's pretty cool. So we started out there, and then fast forward to now, we use it really in almost everything we use. Current emails, obviously, research and development for procurement, writing proposals, answering proposals, researching proposals, sources soughts, RFIs, RFQs, every phase. Bank ready for sure. We're building out our own bank ready tool, if you will. We're looking to partner and get some NVIDIA chips and micro and all that, and build our own data center. I can say it. Yeah, I can. So it's integrated in everything we do. Everything we do. We're really big on making sure that what we do is hyperly efficient for not just for Bake Ready ABS, but for our clients. So it's in everything we do.
Do you think that's an industry that's going, be on the up and coming, building data centers? I seen that they were investing I believe it was a couple billion in creating a whole bunch of data centers. Do you think that could be a area of opportunity for like government contracting and building data centers?
Oh, it is. It's right there. Like now that you see it,
Mhm.
and the funny thing about it is when you see it hit the street, I won't say it's too late, but I want y'all to go back. Go back to whitehouse.gov and research. I can't remember what the name of the actual tech bill was. This is like at the height of COVID. Go back and look at who was consulting the White House on the US being an AI superpower. Same companies that were consulting them then are doing it now. The same companies that were consulting them then are the companies that are in these data centers now. Buy their stock, you'll be happy. You'll thank me later. Let's just say that. But data centers and the construction and infrastructure around them, now you're bringing in tech, you're bringing in environmental, you're bringing in infrastructure with real estate because you got to build them.
Mhm.
Um, Energy sources, you're bringing in everything to build these data. Now, these are massive data centers. Mine, you can fit in a room because it's just for bank ready. Who knows how big it gets, but um, because it's a platform, cooler system, tower, whatever. But these are massive data centers for industries. So yeah, go back a couple of years. And again, this is why it's important. I'm gonna keep echoing this. It's important to get into the business of government procurement, private procurement, and not middleman your way through stuff and try to finagle the system and all. Learn your industry inside and out, backwards and forwards, because this stuff has been coming. It's been building up. But to your point, no, it's a massive opportunity. Cybersecurity, massive opportunity. It's not oversaturated at all. If anything, it's at its infancy.
Do you think that's because, all the certifications you have to get, like, ISO and, be FedRAMP certified, and the cost of getting those certifications, do you think that that could be a reason why?
Reason why what exactly why folks don't get into it.
Yeah, or yeah, why is it why, you know or is it just because that it's still something new because it's always new technology coming and it's just always new types of threats that could affect technology.
Uh People don't get into things for a number of reasons. It's hard for me to really say because I was at a Microsoft event Friday or Thursday. There were a lot of people look just like me and you in that space. A lot. Like there were a ton of people there. So you have a have and have nots mindset. How did they get to Microsoft? How did they get to work at a Microsoft? What schools did they go to? Where have they been? I listen to a lot of their stories. A lot of them were in some type of college. Living they went to Mexico, they went here, they went there. So there's a big divide in the culture in small business, not just culture, small business period, where they're not certain people are not exposed to certain things. It has nothing to do with just a lack of something. I can't figure out what it is. But these innovations are happening. Now, the more you get around it, like, yes, there's a lot of advancements in AI, but at its core, AI is not changing a whole lot. It's the same. You have your agents and your prompting and your this and so yes, there's things that are changing, but at its core, you pick the lanes that work for you in your business and you master those lanes. You keep learning. They're basically the same lanes. It's not just changing overnight every day. Oh my God, I can't keep up. No, somebody's keeping up, and more than we realize is keeping up. So I think we just have to be in the right rooms, making sure we're having the right conversations like this one, and not be afraid to get out there and experience new things we haven't before, because that is what's going to change things. You or your ability to experience something new, or your ability to be too afraid and sit in the corner. And AI will end up changing your job one way or another.
Yeah, yeah. And and that was another question I was going to ask. Do you think we aim too low when it comes to industries? Do you think like we just choose the same beaten path with for industry as far as like, people that wear out, our social uniforms? Do you think that's an issue, or because like you said, cybersecurity, then I saw expiring contracts for the next 4 years, and like aircraft parts, and it was a couple billion in that space, so do you think we just aiming too low for um we're just aiming too low, like we should set our goals higher with the industries we're trying to get in?
I think so. I think so. I think we're not in. We don't aim. Sometimes, to be honest, our business acumen at times, and I'll just say across the board, and this is as
Hmm.
respectful as I can, but I'm stepping on some toes here. Our business acumen, even from some of the podcasts we listen to, is terrible. It's too low. Sometimes it's not even good enough at all. Like the business that we go after, like why would you want to do that? Why you like? I even scratch my head like, what made you think that was a good idea? But then we'll knock college as a scam, but then you'll take years to try to start a business from scratch. You'll make decisions on a business. Well, let me move here, or it's oversaturated there, or I can't do that, or whatever. Or some industries you don't even know about because you're not in the
Hmm.
space to even have the conversation. But you're okay with it's just a weird thing. And what's happening now is have and have nots. Those that have are going towards new knowledge. They're opening up new doors. They're experiencing new things. They're opening their kids up to having prompt engineering degrees and certifications that are paying them $200,000, $300,000 a year. Where you're over here trying to start a candle shop or a fabric store, not realizing that that's going to be automated in a year or two. One person wanted to start the business in Houston, but they decided to do a brick and mortar in Austin because they thought they were going to step on somebody's toes. I'm like, you could have ran a market study and realized you could have went across the street, across town, and done the same business online. So that's a lot, man. We just our business acumen is terrible, and it's if we just went outside of our comfort zone just a little bit and start having different conversations. Um, so I'm glad we're doing this podcast because people can start to hear what will be the solution to that. But to answer your question, yeah, it's unfortunately it's bad in certain areas. Like there's things people should know that they have no clue about, and in a matter of two or three conversations could change your life. Literally in two or three conversations.
Hmm. Agree, agree. And you spoke earlier about joint venturing and teaming, and I've been I'm being mentored by Mr. Walter Cotton, and he's responsible for over 150 billion for the service disabled veteran community, and he often preaches about utilizing joint ventures and partnering with small businesses that in the space and bigger businesses in the space to create a bigger small business, which allows you to go after those federal contracts or go after those contracts, federal, state, local, where now you could compete with the bigger competitors, and you get to leverage your social economic status like SDVOSB, or a woman on or whatever, and then that allows you to be competitive in this space, because now you can scale and handle any size handle a bigger size contract, and also have that relationship, that mentor protege relationship where you still can build out your competency and your capabilities. So how, do you feel like that's a do you see that as a solution for us, breaking into these industries that that are unbeaten?
No, without a doubt. Without a doubt. The fastest way to scale is through acquisition. Period.
Mhm.
Fastest way to scale. Um, we can put it to a couple categories. So joint venturing or teaming is just bringing more people to the table that have more skill set, more aptitude, more bonding, more banking, more whatever. Somebody's got good credit, somebody's got a little money in the bank, somebody's got a business. Y'all get together and acquire a SaaS company, acquire a cyber firm. If you're in construction, acquire some trades, um, general contracting, HVAC, plumbing, whatever, build you a small construction company, and then team with larger firm than yours and do a couple of those and go from 100,000 in bonding to 2-3 million in bonding. Because a lot of time, all you need is 2 million to really get to that next level of construction. Yeah, that is the best one of the best ways to scale. We do a lot of acquisition consulting, due diligence consulting. I see us catching on a little bit more when I see certain posts on social. So yes, which is why I say our business acumen has got to get kicked up, so we understand what that means, what that looks like, um, and not be afraid of it. But there are spaces of people that are very excited about that thought. I've got some consultations coming up this month, just from a webinar I did earlier last week. So I think it is the quintessential way. If I was to pick one thing that could help the culture, small business scale fast as heck in 5 years compared to 20 years, through acquisitions.
Okay,
Couple
all
that
right.
with your contract opportunities that are needing to be filled.
Yes.
You can
Yeah.
reverse engineer that entire process and stay right there. And through SBA loans, leveraging debt, leverage buyouts, and structuring those deals appropriately. That is the key. Period. You don't have to go that far.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. My question is, with all your experience in, consulting and government contracting, what's the biggest lessons you learned in your journey as a leader in this space?
I see it's funny you be called a leader in space. Biggest thing I've learned. That's an interesting one. I don't think I've been asked that before. Um, it's not as big as you think. Granted, it's huge. Don't get me wrong. We underestimate relationships. I've got colonels, generals, retired captains, Air Force, folks that work at Booz Allen, NASA. I got a massive Rolodex of people that in positions when I say it, people are like, dang, so and so. I can walk in rooms and, I'll get a hug from somebody that's in a really high ranking position. And that's my friend, that's my colleague. They put me on the stuff. We underestimate, yes, it takes time to build them. But once you peel back the onion, I tell people you want to get this. You want that person's number, not the office line, not their office cell. You want their cell. And you want them to almost want to give it to you. When you get the cell, you get the access. And in the government space in particular, there's things they can and can't do. Private sector is a little more loose. But for me to be able to call somebody that's a regional director at Chase, Comerica, Shell, um, these Fortune 100, 500 companies, military over here, and then get put on to folks in the military. And my mentor, whoever's on the phone, is hearing me talking to this military person, and I get off and they call me back. What the heck were you talking about? Like, I knew you knew your stuff, but what was that? And then we break it
Mm-hmm.
down. People underestimate that. I think that's the biggest thing because when you can get that, that's why I laugh at certain strategies that are used because when you have that, I can make my own contracts. which is what I've done
Hmm.
a lot of. Most of the contracts I have now, I don't go after. I don't answer RFPs no more. I create my own because I can find what your pain point is, and I'll fix that. Because if I keep fixing that problem, it opens up more. And I think that's what that mentorship award and the other one from uh, Ron Reynolds, we got another award from him, and things are starting to come about. But that's the biggest thing I think we miss.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say that because when you have that, you can get everything else.
Yeah, and so what? Because what I'm hearing you say, and what I've been hearing consistently for people I've interviewed is, the power of relationships, and being able, because you never know who you know, and a lot of times it's about who you know and not what you know. Would you agree on that, or would you think it's more of a balance of it?
I would say this is the saying that I use. Um, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Very true. But you have to know something now,
Yeah.
because who knows you knows what you've been doing,
Hmm.
and that's we got to get that down. That's why I say our business acumen sucks sometimes because we don't know enough. And sometimes some of us are too lazy. We want the $1 million whatever, but we want to invest $10,000 to get there. But we'll go to it Atlanta. We'll go to certain events and conferences, spend all this money for people who don't know more than you. It's not what you know, is who you know, yes. But you need to know something so that who knows you knows what you can do. It's not who you know, but who knows you. It's not who knows you, but how they'll sponsor you. That, for me, I think is the rhyme of reason. Who knows you and who will put you on based on what they've seen you do over time, and that they can trust their name sponsoring you in those spaces. That, I think, is the key to getting us in business spaces. Because now we go from being fearful, working together and all this, to looking to work together, looking for those collaborations, not trying to hurry up and get put on, but put the work in so that your name means something for a Austin or a whomever to put you on. Because you never know who's gonna put you on. That's the thing. It's who you think gonna put you on is really the person watching you behind that scene. Because everybody I got put on by, I did not know who that person was. Not like talk about. And who I was going after, it was really the next person that ended up putting me on. I ended up getting cool with them and their friend. And then the whole clique became family, basically. So that's what I would say we should go after.
What what does it mean to be bank ready?
To be bank ready, twofold. You have the financial side, the money side of
Mhm.
the business, profit and loss, cash flow, cash burn, break evens, everything that the finances touch. For you to walk into a bank and say, I need $200,000 and be able to articulate every dime, where it's going, how your revenue is going to debt service that money, et cetera, et cetera. You, you should be able to flow through that entire operation. On the other side, and they tie in, how bankable are you in the marketplace? Meaning your business idea, your business model, what you do every day. How well are you attacking it? How much does the market need what you're selling? How bankable is that? Can you go write a check off of that? Like when I do my consulting, I know exactly who needs me. I know who I need to go after. I'm not wasting any energy per se. And if I notice I am, I'm right back inside of it. So being bank ready is how bankable is your operations? How efficient are you? How fluid is that? Uh, are you able to write a check now, 5 years from now, 3 years from now, tomorrow, next week, end of the year? And can you take that business model and go into a financial institution and have them bank you financially, and they don't see you as a risk, and you can articulate yourself in that institution and out. If we stay there operating financially, if we have financial capacity and operational capacity, that's where your bank ready comes in. It truly does. So when I saw, are you bank ready? That's what I'm looking for.
And that leads me to my next question about your firm, your Austin Business Strategies. Can you tell me how can, because you have a ocean of knowledge, you have a whole bunch of experience. How can people interact with you? How can they get involved and get get services from you to learn how they can be bank ready and get into these spaces?
So we offer a variety of services depending on where you are, right? Everyone's at a different tenor, at a different space and time. Some people need more that one CEO coaching. Some people need more of like a 6 month to a year program. We don't do courses, but um, there's different levels. Some people may just need 4 sessions with me. We got like a smaller package where you can buy into it. It's 4 30-minute sessions, 4 1 hour sessions. There's a 6 month deal, there's a year deal, right? So I would say the best thing to do, go online, austinbusinessstrategies.com, put your information in, and that puts you on our email list, etc. Go through the whole site, first of all. I want you to go through the site, see what's there, so you have an idea of what we offer, um, how we offer it, and then email the office. Set up a time with Kendra and just do a little download with her. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm trying to go. I want to be bank ready. I hear what coach is talking about, but I need to really make sure, whatever the issue is. I'm trying to get a contract. I'm trying to get this. I need to get this bank loan, whatever. And just understand that's what you see you need, and allow us to decipher kind of what's missing there, and then we can figure out from there what package best fits you. If you want time with me, right? Don't DM me, please. I don't do contracts in DM. I don't do work in my DMs. I don't really answer my email like talking about. Email the office, let them get with you, and Kendra will take like a 15-minute time to diagnose what's what. And then based on her guidance, we talk almost every day. We'll decipher where you need to go. And that's the best way to operate with us. Pretty much everything's custom made to what you need. We've got free data, we've got little packages here and there of our free templates for financial stuff, business stuff. We can do acquisitions. If you want to buy a business, we can help you with that. We do that for a couple clients now. You want to go after government contracts, I can teach you that. So just be ready to invest in yourself. Sit back, don't knock the system, just follow the process. And but that's the best way to go. Check out the site, shoot us an email, or if you see a service you want, just go ahead and pick it up.
Thank you, Coach. Man, every time I talk to you, you always have a wealth of information and knowledge, man. Always dropping gems every time I see you at a networking event, I could just ask you something and you'll just start giving me information about, and I appreciate that. Can you leave the audience with some closing remarks, some words of advice, words of encouragement, or a gem you could drop for us?
I'll leave it on what's going on right now. So this is the day after the Super Bowl, so everybody's excited. You saw the
Mhm.
halftime show. Um, Watch it. There's a lot of gems he dropped that if you missed it, there's a reason why you missed it. If you missed it, don't hate it. Just go research it because he dropped a lot. Like it or love it,
Mhm.
that was fire. Um, don't let this whole DEI situation get you angry. If you can give me a minute to go into it, just a touch, if I can. A lot of
Yes, you
us
can.
are
Yes, sir.
noticing some people are getting mad at others in the culture or whatever about the Target thing, this and that. And like if you're doing this with Target, don't rock with them. It's like we're hating on each other. We never benefited from DEI like talking about anyway. DEI wasn't meant for us as far as if I'm gonna say African Americans. Not like that. No.
Yeah.
So like your Tabitha Browns and other brands that are in Target, what y'all
Hmm.
should have did, Mr. and Mrs. You know, Hotep or Mr. and Mrs. Militant. And I had a Black Panther t-shirt on yesterday, so don't come for me in the comments. You should have went and Target and bought up every black brand in there. because that money still would have went to the black brand before they took it off the shelf. If we want economic empowerment, we have to be the example of economic empowerment. DEI has been around, so why haven't the products been flying off the shelf day one? Tabitha Brown should have been so wanted by black community. It should have been a story. Every time we turn around, there's no Tabitha Brown products on the shelf because her people are so
Mm-hmm.
behind her, they buying it up when DEI was
Mm-hmm.
hot. Now that they're taking DEI off the table because it's not hot, we get mad at Target. What was Target's revenue last year? What was Target's gross revenue? This is homework for everybody. What was their gross revenue last year? And what was the GDP spend for Black
Mm-hmm.
America? That's just
Mm-hmm.
Target. If you looked at that number, because I always quote what our buying power is, Target's gross revenue and the black dollar. I'll leave it there because it'll make you see you're not as powerful as you think. But here's where we are powerful, and this is where I think we're missing it. And this is, I would say, Jim, for the day. We talk about, and I hear studies about we're going to go to 0 and 20, whatever it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in that. There's lack of access to capital. I don't believe in that either. I sure don't believe in that. There's capital out there. We just have to understand where and at what phase do we go after that capital and how to position ourselves accordingly to go after what's there and then stair step our way to where we got to go. Start understanding the due diligence and execution of buying an existing business,
Mm-hmm.
parlaying that with the government spend, if it's infrastructure, cybersecurity, nursing, healthcare, medical, whatever area you want to be in. If you're an entrepreneur CEO, you're gonna be an entrepreneur CEO. You don't have to have the perfect product. Get out of your feelings about your passion products and projects and things that you feel God told you to do, and get into where the numbers are telling you to go. Get with someone like myself or someone who does the work. Who
Mm-hmm.
and you see me at networkings all the time. I'm in government all the time. I'm in the
Mm-hmm.
private sector all the time. I go to
Mm-hmm.
prisons all the time, but I'll never show it like that because it's not like something that's I can't show everything. But
Mm-hmm.
go with somebody who's in the space where money is being spent, money is being shown, allocated. It was at TSU not too long ago. We'll be going back again. But to wrap it up, acquire revenue, cash flow, time. You can buy time and couple that with future revenue opportunities, time, cash flow, and you'll see business in a whole nother way. And what you thought you wanted to do will change when you got revenue coming from somewhere else. And when you can
Mm-hmm.
start hiring people that have good resumes and things of that nature in a volatile economy, now your business acumen will start to go up. You'll ask different questions, you'll get different results. And that will take us from going to a 0 to the black community is really doing this thing. And we can keep Big Mama's house and Big Mama's land and hold those assets and leverage that for other things and buy insurance policies on our kids and our families and our businesses, key band policies on ourselves, and really start to build our wealth with each other and others too. Because it ain't just about us. Bring others into the fray because you got to do business with each other. Please stop calling yourself black owned. We don't have to do that. There's a reason we don't need to do that. And just be a small, growing, emerging business that
Agreed.
just happens to be owned by a black person or a
Agreed.
Latino.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Man, this has been a great episode. Thank you, Coach, for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your knowledge. Um, guys, this has been another installment of CEO at the Gas Pump. I have my guest, Mr. Coach John Austin, and I've been Red Twan Hill. Till next time, guys.